Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to part 2 of this rerun collab stream. So today, it's been a week since the part 1, as you know. Today we've got a new banner, a new unit and arc, so we'll definitely be looking at that today. That's going to be the main focus of the stream. Because we covered most things in the part 1 stream, this one won't be as long because there's not as much to cover. It's mostly going to be talking about the stuff that's been added to part 2, which isn't as much. And I also want to talk at the end in my conclusion, I want to talk more about what I think is better with the part 1 and part 2 banners, because since Arngrim has been out for a week now, I do want to talk about him a bit more again. I personally haven't tried him that much yet. I haven't been playing that much. I've just been farming the event. I haven't really tried Arngrim much at the moment, but I have seen some people test him, and I do have a lot more information on him, so that will be fun. Hey, so I don't think I really need to look at the news today, just because I don't think there's much added in the update today. I might as well have a brief look, but all they've added is basically just part 2 of the event added a few more stages and rewards, that kind of stuff. So typical part 2 event, don't really talk about that really. Get some more tickets and stuff. Tower trials, I like the idea of these tower trials, but they're just not, they're not strong enough for end game players. Like, even newer players could just get one strong unit and they'll be able to do all of these. It is kind of too easy, in my opinion. Trials of Beasts, and there's like not much else, so yeah, I don't really need to talk too much about the updates. It's kind of just a small update today, so yeah, there won't be as much to do. But let's go over the banners now. So the part 2 Gatro, might as well start with that right now. So we got Dias Flac and the Unite arc. They look pretty nice. I don't think anything in this rerun is going to be anything game-changing. Like, I was hoping that there'll be something very strong, because as you know, the rerun units, like Renner being the best unit in the game, you would think that there would be a stupidly strong unit in the rerun, but I haven't seen that so far. Let's have a look at the unit first. So, he looks pretty cool. A lot of people were hoping that he was going to be a very strong unit, and I believe that he will be pretty strong, but for endgame players like myself, he may not be as useful. I think he'll be more like a unit that a newer player could use easily and just clear most of the content in the game, I think, because he's a non-attribute physical damage dealer. And he's quite easy to build. I think he can be built multiple ways, like similar to Claude in a way, because Claude can also be single wield or dual wield, so Diaz is similar because he can be either single wield or dual wield. So basically you'll be wanting dual wields in PvE content. If you want to try him out in PvP, then single wield will definitely be the better build for sure, but I don't know how well he's going to do there yet, because obviously since he only just came out today, he will definitely require more testing. But let's have a look at his kit and see what he has. So he's a soldier type, so another human type unit, which is always, it always worries me, because units that have human slayers like Guile and Lilahar would probably kill him quite easily. That's just the first thing I think of because of the current meta in Arena and stuff. Yeah, the element resistances look pretty good. Nil to stun, resistance to curse, and illness is actually pretty good for a damage dealer, so I'm quite happy with that. It was pretty similar to Arngrim. I believe he also has nil to stun and resistance to curse and stuff as well, so it's pretty nice to have those on a physical damage dealer. It's very important. Adjunct resistances look pretty good as well. Having minus 22 dark may be a problem sometimes, because I know some people use dark magic. There aren't that many dark damage dealers, but I know Arngrim is, so if someone's using Arngrim, then Diaz is probably going to die quite easily, but I haven't seen anyone run Arngrim in Arena at the moment, and Guild Battles is just starting a new season now, so haven't had any Guild Battle testing with these units yet, but since I haven't seen them in Arena at the moment, I don't think they're going to be able to fit in the current meta of Arena, because it's all focused on magic and stuff, so we'll have to see how that goes. The rest of the attribute resistances look pretty good though. Plus 32 light, 22 thunder and earth, they're all pretty nice. So I do like that he has some of those attribute resistances, and the stats look pretty nice. So I believe he has a skill called Serenity, which increases his physical damage based on his mind. So that is why he has high mind, and we'll definitely go over his skills once we get to it. But his mind being that high, I think is going to be quite nice. I don't think he's going to be able to tank magic. I mean, I would hope, but I really don't think so, because he's a soldier type, and obviously the LR is just so strong. Maybe if you build a full tank type team with like the Breath and Renner and those types of units with Dias, it might work. But I don't have a clue. I would assume maybe not. It would really depend. So his abilities, these look nice to me. They don't look that fast though, so I don't think he's going to be a good DPS unit at all. Like, if you want the fastest DPS, he's not going to do that very well. But since he's a non-attribute unit, you can use him in most content. So he's definitely not going to be a fast DPS unit. That is not his role. He's going to be a different role. So his skill 1, Air Slash, is basically the same name as Claude's skill 1, which is funny. We've seen this type of skill on many units in this game, so it's pretty normal to us, but there is a bit of a difference with this one. So it is a medium area combo attack, but when you're far enough from the enemy, then it is a long range combo attack. So the long range combo attack is the Air Slash, that is like just a straight line. It shoots the thing out, you know, kind of like the same as Claude's skill 1. Very similar, pretty much the same thing. But if you're close enough, then it's basically going to slam the ground. Kind of looks like a very small Claude skill 3, but it's not even close, because Claude skill 3 is just way stronger. I'm just saying it looks more similar to that, because it slams the ground, does an area attack. It seems nice, but his skill 1 only being 6 hits, I don't know, not anything impressive, but it does look like a nice skill, I think. It's not going to be very fast, but having a long range attack is quite useful on any damage dealer. I like having long range attacks, they're just nice to have. Skill 2, this one looks okay, I think. It's a forward dash, close in for a medium area combo attack. So I believe all of his skills does have some range to it. Obviously his skill 1 can be long ranged. His skill 2, it has a dash, so it will have some range, and that sounds nice to me. It is 11 hits for his skill 2, which is alright. I mean, it could have been higher, honestly, but it still looks cool to me. But his main skill, in my opinion, is definitely going to be a skill 3. I think this one looks pretty nice and could be useful for sure. So it's a wide area combo attack around the unit that pulls enemies in. We love seeing skills that pulls enemies in, because they can sometimes be quite useful, and I have tested this a little bit just to see exactly how good this pull-in effect is, and it does seem pretty strong. There is also a low chance to insta-kill enemies, obviously only in PvE stages, not against bosses and that stuff. The interesting thing about this skill though, it's not like one of those skills where you can use it anywhere and it's just going to do attack around you. It actually tries to walk towards the enemy, which is interesting. I think that is a good thing in my opinion, because as you know, I think things like Ruto's skill 2 can't be used anywhere, but it may just miss completely. You can be out of range and it's still going to use the skill, but it's just not going to hit anything, you know. But with this skill 3, it will try to walk towards the enemy when you use it, so I think it's nice. It does have less of a, you know, dash, because it doesn't dash, so it has less range than the skill 2, I think. But I do really like the pull-in effect, and potentially in PvP it could be nice, but I'm hoping it is. I just don't know how effective it's going to be. We'll have to wait and see, but I always like pull-in effects on units. They are just adding more utility to the unit, is very nice. So his skill 3 is 18 hits. I think that's solid. It could have been better, but at least it's not Arngrim level hit counts. You know, it's okay. 18 is fine. Could have been 20, that's kind of the average, or 22, I like those numbers, but the fact that it pulls in, I think it could be useful. And his special is just a normal attack against all enemies, so it isn't anything that amazing, and it's only 35 hits, so you're not really going to be using his special that often just because it's got low hit counts on his special, and probably his damage cap isn't going to be that great, so I wouldn't really recommend a special. Doing a special build only for him wouldn't be that great. You're much better off using a different unit like Nael or just any other special damage dealer unit if you want. So I think his skills all look very nice. I think they're great. The animations are definitely more interesting to me compared to Arngrim. They look more interesting. So now let's go over the traits. There are some very nice things here. I do like these traits, honestly. So trait 1 is more focused on damage. Like usual, it usually is. You've got one trait focused on damage, the other one's more utility stuff. So since all of these skills are non-attribute, it says combo attack. Whenever it says a combo attack, that means it doesn't have an attribute on it. So all of these say it just does a combo attack, so they're all non-attribute. So all of his skills and everything, even his special, is just a combo attack, so that's non-attribute. They will get 30% damage and also have 30,000 damage cap. That is solid, but could have been higher, honestly. And I believe his damage cap isn't very good. What I've seen so far, he doesn't have that great damage cap, so his damage cap would be quite low compared to recent units. Like Arngrim's damage cap is ridiculously high, and he's actually pretty decent for a DPS because of his ridiculously high hit damage caps, but Dias doesn't have that much damage cap. You can obviously improve it, but having high damage caps in the unit's kit does help. When equipped with only one weapon, then instead you get 50,000 damage cap. It would have made sense if it was 60,000 because that would be double and would make up for, you know, having half the amount of hit counts, but whatever. I mean, if you're using him single wield, it doesn't really matter because you're going to be using him in PvP if that's the case, because there's literally no reason to use him single wield in PvE stages because, you know, the extra hit counts and everything you're getting from dual wield is just much more effective on this unit in PvE, so that's what I would say. Magic attack and counter damage taken minus 20%, so all the time you take less magic and counter damage. I think this is great because magic and counter are the two main damage types we see. Well, especially magic in arena is seen a lot, and magic in guild battles can be seen a lot on your attack team, and counter damage as well on your attack team. So maybe he'll work on your guild battle defense, but I'm just making that up. He may not even be any good in PvP, we don't know yet. I'm just thinking about it. If he does have high enough damage modifiers on his skills, then he may potentially work. But just have to wait and see, I guess. When you have an armor, then it boosts it to minus 50% instead. So this is very similar to Claude as well, because he has a similar thing with taking less physical damage. It's the same effect here, but instead Dias has it for magic and counter damage. So I think that's quite nice. I think by itself it won't be enough to tank like a Guile, for instance, but if you add on counter shield 1 and 2 when you start adding things like that, maybe he'll be able to tank a Guile enough to kill him, but I don't know, because he would probably need Soldier Slayer and stuff like that too, and Guile's pretty tanky, so I don't really know. And as you know, Guile has Slayers on his counter attacks, so Dias would definitely need a hell of a lot of damage mitigation to make up for that. But this does help quite a bit, and it can help against 2P as well. If you use him single wield in PvP, he might be able to deal with 2P potentially. We do have a lot more solutions to 2P now than we used to, so she's less of a problem, but she is still a very meta unit that a lot of people use. If you have the right team, she can work very well, so it's just something to think about. When using a skill, well, when using skill 1, it changes the attack based on the distance from the target. It's just same thing as what it says on a skill 1. So when you're far enough away, then it's a long range attack instead. I don't know why they put it on his trait 1 as well as the skill 1. I don't think that's necessary, honestly. Like, if you read this skill, it changes the attack, and then it also says it on the trait. I don't know why. I mean, if you forget about it, then sure, but obviously if you're using him, you're going to remember it. So, it seems unnecessary in my opinion, but whatever. Now, his trait 2 has a hell of a lot of SET related stuff, and I do like this trait 2, honestly. It could be very nice for SET. I think it would be great, hopefully, as long as the effects are, you know, if they have a high enough percentage to proc, then that would be nice, but we don't know yet. So at the start of battle, and when defeating an enemy, you restore 1 stock for 1 skill. So the best thing about this is it's guaranteed, and it's at the start of the battle, or when you defeat an enemy. So every time you defeat an enemy, you will get a random stock for a skill. Now this is very strong, especially in PvP, because if you use one of your skills and you end up killing an enemy, you're going to guaranteed 100% of the time get a skill back. It won't be like the same skill you used, it'll be a random skill, but I still think that is very nice. And you can also put on other skills for SET regen, like Pose of Glory, that restores SET when you kill an enemy. That will also be more SET, so he should have some very nice SET regen from this. I think it'll be great. You can also put on the SSR arc to have a chance to get a skill stock back when you kill an enemy. That will stack with it, so I think you could do some fun things with this, with some SET regen builds. Could be nice, but that is as long as he can kill enemies. In PvP, that's kind of what I'm thinking of, but in PvE it's still very nice, because if you're defeating a bunch of enemies, if you're up against waves, his SET won't be a problem at all. So I do like that. When moving, you won't flinch from most enemy physical/magical attacks, and you take 70% less damage. So this sounds really good, right? But this is only when you're moving, and I would assume if you're using a skill it doesn't count as moving. So for that reason, it's not going to be active that often, because you have to be moving. And it also says when you're moving you won't flinch, so probably when you're using a skill you might still get flinched, and if that is the case, that would be incredibly annoying, because you can obviously walk towards the enemy and you won't flinch, but as soon as you use a skill, if you get flinched, that will suck. But I haven't tested that yet. That will definitely need to be tested in Arena to really see how good this effect is, because if it can synergize with his skills, I think it'll be very nice, but I don't think it will with the majority of his skills, so that will be down to testing really. But the fact that this is all damage taken, it could be nice, but I don't know, really going to be down to testing I think. But I think most of the time this won't apply, because you'll be either using a skill or, you know, well, that's pretty much his main thing, is using skills, so let's just hope it applies when using a skill most of the time. If so, that'd be great, but if not, it's not going to be very good. When critically skill attacking, here's another SET regen thing in a trait. I think it's nice. Now, there's a chance to restore SET by 1 second for the skill that you used. This one, I don't know the chance of this yet, but I'm hoping it is a decent enough chance to be, you know, something useful, because 1 second of SET isn't very much. So if this is like a very low percentage chance of proccing, like 10%, then this is basically nothing if you think about it like that. And you also have to be critically attacking, and it's only on skills, so it won't apply on your normal attacks. It will only apply on your skills, which kind of sucks, because it would have been nice in guild battles to just spam normal attacks on auto, because guild battles are always on auto, and then get SET from doing crits on normal attacks, but this is only skills, so I don't think this effect is going to be very strong, honestly. I think it's probably going to be a low percentage chance of proccing, and also if you're in PvP, you're going to be single wield, so that's going to be even less hit counts, and that's just going to be even less useful. So I think most of the time this isn't really going to add very much to your SCT regen. Yes, it is something. You can probably try for a full crit build and see how much SCT you're getting, but it needs to be a high percentage chance, like 50% would be my ideal number, but I know it's not going to be. They're probably going to do something like 20, 25% or 10%. If it is that low, it's just not going to be very good. It's going to be bad. But I'm hoping it's 50%, but it's not going to be. I really doubt it. So, a very nice trait 2, I think. The couple of problems with this trait 2 are being the fact that this damage taken minus 70% is only when you're moving, so it's very situational and isn't going to happen most of the time. But if it can apply when using skills, that'd be great, but I doubt it. And then chance to restore the SCT is really going to be down to what the percentage chance of this is. So I will do a bit more testing in the unit test play quest later on today to have a proper look at it. But I don't think it's going to be that great because 1 second isn't very much, and you have to have a lot of crits and stuff like that, so I just think overall it's just not going to add much SCT regen to this unit. But I still think it's nice. Having SCT regen is always great, and the fact that you get a skill stock randomly when you defeat an enemy, when it's guaranteed, but it's a random stock, I think it's really good. So now let's go over to his skills. Obviously, he is mostly going to be just a damage dealer, so that's probably what you're going to expect in his kit for his skills, is just damage-related skills. That's probably what I think. So, magic defense up max, which is nice. I believe he has Serenity. I have to check that. Yeah, boost physical damage based on mind. There you go. So, the more mind you have, the more physical damage he'll do. I believe we've seen this on other units like Shift Baland and Prefect of Godmere also have Serenity. It is a pretty nice skill and I do like it. It adds quite a bit of damage, but by itself it's obviously not going to make the unit super strong because obviously they need to have enough damage modifiers. But I still think it's a nice skill for sure. Fighting Spirit 3 and 5, very nice. Strength and HP is going to be useful. Resolve up 1 for whatever reason. It gives you some mind, I guess that makes sense. And Heroism up 3 and 4. Even more strength and HP. A lot of stats skills, honestly. They're okay. Critical up 3. I do like this because I never put this skill on units just because 7 SC for this skill is just too expensive. So having this on the unit is always great. I like it. Advanced aim vitals, more critical damage. Could be nice. Because I would expect him to have some good crit rate, I would believe so. Proud Forced, good healing, always must have this on your physical damage dealers, it just helps a lot. Brute Buster, so this is obviously more of a PvE focused skill because you're not really going to find any of these types in Arena at all, because most of them are God types or human types pretty much all the time, apart from a couple like Knuckles, but it doesn't matter because you don't really need a Slayer just to kill Knuckles, because a lot of units can kill him. But I still think this is a nice skill for sure. Can help against, waves in PvE content, will be very nice. He's probably going to be a very good unit to just easily clear story stages and just anything that has a bunch of enemies spawning but are brute type enemies. I think he's going to be great for that. That's probably going to be his main role, is using him in that story stages and those type of content. Anti-type boost too, it's going to be nice. Auto Matisse is basically a mind buff, so that is very nice to have. He doesn't have Brave, but I believe he does have a skill lower down that is Grand Brave, but we'll get that. We'll read that once we get to it. Auto Critical, very good, especially since he does rely on crits quite a lot in his kit. Like, more crit rate is just a high chance to restore SCT from his trait too, so remember that. crit rate is more important on this unit than a typical unit, I would think. Auto haste, even more SCT regen, that is very nice. And also Gale Force is even more SCT regen. I like it. He seems like he has a hell of a lot of SCT regen. And as you know, SCT regen is very important in this game, because if you have no SCT, obviously you can't use skills, so it's just a very nice one. Now attribute attack raise 2 is more damage, love it. Same with this one. Attack raise 4, I believe the limited arc has no attribute attack raise 3, which obviously he doesn't have. They do that on purpose, I know they do, just to try and make you get the unit and the arc, just to make you feel like, oh, he's even stronger now. I get it. No attribute critical raise, love it. It's going to be great for him, of course. And Serenity, this skill, like I said, is great. It boosts your physical damage based on your mind, and enemy defense minus 15% and deal damage when you're physically attacking all the time. Basically guaranteed piercing, even though it's only a small effect, it is still very nice to have that. And he also has piercing on top of that, so that's very nice. Even more piercing, gotta love that. Favored sword, Mystic favored sword. This one, favored sword effect plus 50%, so this will be 50% more effective, basically giving it 15% more physical damage and 5,000 damage cap on this skill. And also the chance for when you do a critical hit, there's a chance for it to do more damage and damage cap. It does synergize with this kit quite well, so I think that would be nice. And this is a weird selection of skills, because he has dual wield as well, but you've got to remember, it's because he can work either way, and you've seen this work with a unit like Claude, because he can either be single wield or dual wield, and those types of units, they've worked very well. And as you know, Claude has been out for a year at this point, and he's still a very strong unit, and is definitely a meta unit for sure. So having this is very nice, because it can give you some, you know, different build options for this unit. You don't have to be locked to a specific single wield build, you can be dual wield if you want to, which is nice. Two-handed sword boost 3, even more damage. Definitely, if you want maximum damage, you're going to want single wield for sure for PvP. That's definitely what I would do. Dual wield, of course, great. Sword high boost, even more damage, and Giga boost is even more damage and damage cap, so there's great stuff there. Special boost 4, don't really care about it, because like I said, his special's only 35 hits. Is not going to do that much, so this isn't really going to be that important. Indomitable Spirit, I do think this one's useful, because when taking a lethal hit, you survive it and recover HP. It's just more survivability, and you also get a skill damage buff, so it's quite a nice skill. Now we get on to his unique skills, but honestly, this unit doesn't have many unique skills compared to other units, so I would have liked to see more unique skills, but he does have quite a good selection of skills that I'm seeing. So, mental training. When physically attacking, there's a chance to boost the unit's strength by 100% and deal damage. I think we've seen something like this before on a different unit, maybe. It's pretty nice. Chance to double your strength and deal damage when you're hitting enemy. It doesn't give you a buff or anything, it just puts it into the calculation. So if you've got 4,000 strength, when you're hitting enemy, there is a chance that it's going to be counted as 8,000 instead. So, well, whatever the double is. If you've got like 5,000, it's going to be 10,000, you know. It is a nice skill. I don't know what the chance is, haven't really looked into it too much, but I still think it's a nice one to have. Godspeed is an interesting one. Boost movement speed, and when you use a skill and you're far enough away from the enemy, there is a chance to boost your movement speed. So this is kind of like the gas buffs from Attack on Titan's collab units that have ridiculous movement speed. Kind of like that in a way. It's a very strong movement speed buff, so I think this will be fun. The only thing about it is a chance, and I hope the chance is high enough, like 50%, because if it is, then I think it'll be quite nice. Master of the Blade, when you have a sword equipped, then you get 10,000 skill and special damage, which is pretty good, and your strength on your sword gets 200% more strength. So if you have 400 strength on your sword, it's going to get like 800 more on top of that, right? You'll basically be adding 400 plus another 400 on top of it, so it's actually quite a lot of strength, and I think that's pretty good. If you add that into this skill, it's going to make this skill even more useful, because the higher the strength, the more strength you're going to get from this. Even though the more strength you have, the less effective strength, stats give you physical damage in general, but I still think it's nice. He does definitely have a lot of strength in his kit for sure. So 5% more crit rate. Awesome is a unique skill, so getting more crit rate is going to stack with everything else in his kit, so I love that. And there's a chance to evade physical and magic attacks. I hope it's a decent chance, because most of the time evading attacks isn't super important, but it can be nice having these effects sometimes depending on the unit. Like on just a full damage dealer unit, a glass cannon type unit is not very important, I guess, because they're probably going to die anyway. But on a unit like him, I think it will be nice, because he does have some damage mitigation in his kit, but he doesn't have very much damage mitigation against physical attacks, so that's something to think about. Most of his damage mitigation is aimed towards magic and counter from the straight one, maximum of 50%. Obviously you've got this minus 70% here, but this isn't going to be active all the time, and this will, so that's nice. Technology is the last one here. You get a continuous Grand Brave effect and 50% strength. This is pretty crazy. 50% strength is going to stack with everything else here. His strength should be incredibly high, and I think that's going to be fun. Trying to go for like a full strength build just to see his highest strength stats would be a fun build. Obviously it's not going to be that effective, but it's quite easy to build strength stats because it doesn't require that many skills. In his kit, he has a lot of strength already, so his strength's going to be pretty high. I know his strength here in the summary is 2,179, but it's going to be even more when you put on, equipments and stuff. The strength is going to go up even higher, and when you go into battle, it's going to be great when you get the Grand Brave effect as well, so his strength is going to be pretty nice. And then we get on to the 6th enhanced skills. They look okay. First of all, you got this special damage cap. Honestly, just ignore it because the special isn't that great. Unless you really want to use a special, but like I said, his special isn't that strong, so I wouldn't really recommend to waste your materials just on getting this. Damage taken minus 10%. I love these because it's all damage taken, so you can never go wrong with this. This is always useful. More crit rate. Love it. He does have some nice crit rate, like I've said already. He's got this for more crit rate, and all of this adds up to being a decent amount crit rate, so I think it'll be nice. More critical damage cap, whatever really. I'm never really a fan of critical damage cap because it's just you get less of a damage cap increase, because you're not always going to be critically attacking. You're never going to have a crit all the time, so it's whatever. It's some more damage cap, I guess, something. Sword Mastery, definitely more useful. Gives you 10% damage and some damage cap. I think it's nice, for sure. And Giant Killing, more damage and damage cap against bosses, sure. So, they could have been better, honestly. But I do like them. Like the damage taken, the critical up, Sword Mastery, they're all great. Even Critical Breakthrough and Giant Killing are nice ones to have. So, I think overall he does seem pretty good. Like, he's definitely got a lot aimed towards damage. He has a little bit of damage mitigation, like from his traits, and he has a hell of a lot of SCT regen. So he seems like he's going to be a very easy unit to use, because you can either use him single wield or dual wield, so you have options. And the fact that he has a lot of SCT regen from his traits and his skills does make him quite easy to use, because you can just put him in a team and he should regen SET quite well. And when you're killing enemies, he's going to regen even more SET. So I think he's definitely going to be quite an easy unit to use. Just shove on your team in story stages. He's just going to be super easy. So that's why I think he's going to be an amazing unit for newer players, or players that are just starting, or players that haven't played very much and still have a lot of story to progress through. I think he's going to be great for those players. Now, for endgame players like myself, I don't know how useful he's going to be, because I still think his main value is definitely for newer players. Because endgame players like me, when I think of how useful will a unit be, I think of PvP content most of all, because I finished all of the PvE content. So, yes, he may work in PvP, but if you're an endgame player, I think he's going to be less useful. But if you're a newer player, I think he's going to be more useful for you. So it really depends on what stage of the game you're at and what your account has. Non-attribute units are not necessary at all, but in the past we've had some very strong non-attribute units. So that is something to think about. We've had 2B, which when she came out, the original Nier collab, 2B was used in Arena. And we've also got Leodor right now, who's used in Arena and Guild Battle sometimes as well, and his non-attributes. We also had Rem, who when she came out, she was used in Arena, I believe. And we even have Shift Lagravos, who's non-attribute as well, who's still used. So non-attribute units can sometimes work very well in Arena and PvP places. But I say if you're thinking about PvP, more importantly, then I would just recommend to wait for a little bit, because I believe this banner's still up for another 2 weeks. So, or maybe a week or two, at least, probably 2 weeks. So you still got time to decide on what you want to pull on, and we've got tickets available. So, but if you're a completely new player and you don't have much on your account, then I think it'll be a very solid unit for you. Now, let's have a look at the arc next. I am honestly more excited about this. Like, I think the arcs in this rerun collab have been very strong, especially the part 1 arc, very useful. You can just shove it on any unit and you get 100% more XP. It's great. I love it. Definitely going to be an arc that I'm going to be using for a lot, especially for farming XP. That's the main one. Let's have a look at this arc. So the trait on this one, it seems okay. Boost skill and special damage based on how much HP you have. So I would assume if you have max HP, you're going to get the maximum boost here. At the battle start and every 60 seconds, you get Grand Brave and High Protection only on the unit. So only the unit here. It's not your team, it's only the current unit that is equipping this arc. So remember that. High Protection and Grand Brave are 2 very strong effects. But you also got to think that a lot of units, especially newer units, already have some of these effects already in their kit. Like, I know Dias has Grand Brave in his kit already, so the only effect he'll get from the trait is obviously the High Protection, which, yes, is very nice, but obviously it's only at the start of battle and every 60 seconds. So once the unit dies, you're not going to be able to have these buffs back. So I still think it's solid, but I wouldn't use it just for that. When you have an armor equipped, then you take 15% less damage from enemies that do not have the same type as the unit. This seems pretty useful on units like Knuckles, because he's a beast type unit, and just units like that. But since we have so many human type units and some god type units, if you put it on, let's say, any soldier type unit, I don't think it's going to be as useful, because it's got to be the same, a different type. Yes, it could be nice. You have to have an armor. I can see it sometimes being useful. You could maybe use it on Knuckles as probably the main one that I would think of. But overall, this trait, I'm not that excited about it, because yes, it has some okay effects. It is solid, but I wouldn't instantly think of this one and use it. You know, like, it's not anything better than what we already have. So for that reason, it's just kind of average. I think it's solid, but for someone like me who has a lot of arcs already, it's not as useful. But if you're newer, then yeah, it's more useful for you probably, because this is all skill and special damage. as well. All of your skill and special damage getting 35% more damage as long as you have max HP. It's very nice. So let's go over to the learnable skills. I think this one, definitely some very good learnable skills here for sure. First of all, we have Spirit Force. Now, this skill we've seen on a few units already. I know Renner has it. I don't think that many other units have it, because I believe it's a collab skill, because it was on Renner. Spirit Force, when you're attacked by a physical attack, there is a chance to boost your defense by 100% and take damage. So it's basically equivalent to piercing, but instead it's when you take damage. So when you take damage, there's a chance that your defense will be doubled into the calculation. So if you have 4,000 strength, there's a chance that when you get hit, it will be 8,000, but it's per hit, so it isn't that great. For 4SC, it may be okay. For someone like Ruto or something that has some high defense, it may be useful to use it. But the chance on it, yeah, 12.5%, it's not going to be very useful if you're up against single wield units. If you're up against, you know, dual wield units, it'd probably be more useful because it'll proc more often. But I probably wouldn't really use it just because, you know, it's a chance, and I don't like relying on chances most of the time if I can help it. And then the other two skills here are very strong ones for sure. You've got Fast Holy Wall 2. This is the first time we've seen this skill. It may potentially come back in the future, but you never know with these things, because these are two Last Cloudia skills, so they can come back. Automatically activates Holy Wall 2 at the start of the battle. Remember, this is against, it applies to your entire team, so I think this will be actually pretty strong for sure. But 12SC, I mean, I think it's worth it depending on your team. Like, if you want to build a full team based on dark damage mitigation, then I think it will be a nice skill. And yes, the final skill here is no attribute attack raise 3. It's pretty damn expensive, not gonna lie. You get 30% damage and 2000 damage cap. Is this even worth using for 16? I don't know, because if you think about it, you can probably just use something else. Obviously for PvP, it just don't, because 16SC is not worth it, because 4 SC per 10% damage basically. 4, 8, 12, that is already 30% damage, so for PvP you're never ever going to use it. For PvE, if you want the damage and the damage cap, I don't know, I probably still wouldn't consider it just because it's a bit expensive, but I don't know, it's okay, it's just a bit expensive, you know, they overprice non-attribute attack raise skills for some reason compared to the elemental attack raise skills. But still, I think this arc has a nice selection of learnable skills. But now I'm thinking about it, it doesn't have anything game-changing, and I'm not missing out on that much by not having these learnable skills, so I'm not that worried about not getting these. But the Archive reward, though, I think this one's pretty solid for sure. So this is an accessory, gives you HP, strength, and defense. Yeah, it gives you 10% skill damage. Pretty amazing, right? 10% skill damage all the time, all skill damage. Love that on an accessory. And it also gives you 20% extra attack damage. So all of your extra attacks will get 20% more damage as well. I think it'll be nice, but when are you ever going to be doing extra attack damage as well as skill damage in PvP? I mean, I believe dual wield, the second hit of dual wield hits should get the damage boost, because that counts as an extra attack, right? It should do. So I think it'll be nice. I wonder if it applies to like 2P, her counterattacks have double hits. That will be interesting, but I think by itself it's probably not enough to be worth using because we have other accessory options. Yeah, I think it'll be solid. It's definitely one of the better accessories, and I do very much like this. It even gives a little bit of attribute resistances, so it's definitely a good accessory for sure. Reminds me of the spring in the Sonic collab. I like that one quite a bit. It's a very nice one to have. If you can get this, this is definitely going to be used long term because these accessories are it's just very nice to get more accessories like this. So I think the main value on this arc is definitely the Archive reward for sure. The learnable skills are okay. I can definitely see some use in Fast Holy War 2 maybe. Spirit Forced maybe, but since there's a chance, I would rather go for damage mitigation that's guaranteed instead of this, honestly. And no attribute attack raise 3 is just too damn expensive for 16 SC. It's probably just not worth it. So I think it's a solid arc, but I still think the part 1 arc is way better than this. Yeah, you're not that much late. I mean, 46 minutes is fine. We've reviewed everything already in this banner. If you want to check that later, just wait until this is finished because timestamps and stuff will be out later today. So, I think this banner, pretty solid, but I still think the part 1 banner is probably better because of the arc in this banner is so good. Because of the 100% XP received, you do not have to rely on supports anymore. You don't have to rely on Granadas. You can just put this arc trait on your unit that you're farming XP for and not worry about supports. So I love this trait. And even the learnable skills, Shadow Raid's pretty nice. And this one's decent too. So I do think this part 1 arc is definitely better than the part 2 arc, but the part 2 arc is still a decent one. So I think they're both nice banners, honestly, and what I would recommend is trying to pull something from each of them, because I think both the unit and the arc on both of these banners are solid enough, and since they are limited and collab and they may not come back in the future, it's probably worth trying to get something. That's just what I think. Even if a collab has bad things in it, it's probably still a good idea to try and get something, because it may never come back, and you don't want to make this mistake of thinking that, oh, this isn't going to be that useful, but maybe in the future it will be, you know? So, I will definitely come back to these banners a bit later on. So far, I think this part 2 banner's looking pretty solid, but it isn't, like, there's nothing meta in here, so if you only worry about meta stuff, don't worry about it. Which unit for a newer player? Definitely Dias. 100% Dias for a newer player, or someone that's just starting, because he is non-attribute, and he's just so easy to use for newer players. Probably the best unit in the game for newer players apart from supports. I'm talking about damage dealers only for newer players. He will be the best unit for damage dealer for newer players, 100%. Because he's non-attribute, you can use him everywhere. He's so easy to build, has very good SCT regen. He will be very strong for newer players that just want to quickly go through the story and beat a lot of the content in the game. I think it'll be amazing. So that's what I think for this banner. He may work in PvP, but I don't know yet. I mean, he has some good effects for PvP, like taking less damage from magic and counters. He's very strong. If you make him single wield, he could be pretty tanky. But the question is, does he do enough damage? That is really going to require testing, and I can't say at this point. People are going to need to test him to see how effective he is in PvP, but I am very much hoping that he has some very strong damage modifiers on his skills. If he does, people may try to use him in Arena, but since we have so many tanky teams in Arena, it's kind of difficult to make a physical damage dealer work in Arena now. So for that reason, it's just very difficult for damage dealers, physical damage dealers in general, to work in Arena. Even Arngrim, even if they may have a good kit, it doesn't mean they're instantly going to be good in Arena. because we have counter units and magic damage and, you know, very hard hitting long range physical damage dealers like Leodor. Even Snail, Shift Nail is being used quite a bit, and like Summer Sarah and stuff like that, so he may work. Definitely gonna need testing though. Let's go to the training space next, because I do want to have a look at his paid equipment. Haven't had a proper look at that yet. I think I checked them earlier. They looked okay. Nothing crazy. I was kind of hoping for a Nullify Slayer effect on his accessory, like Claude, but obviously those are just very strong in general. Yeah. I'll definitely be doing some summers and testing very soon after I check his pet equipment and stuff. So right here, he has a sword and an accessory. Let's look at this first. So this sword, non-attribute, obviously gives you strength, mind, it's pretty great. The trait on this though, it looks solid, I think it's nice. It gives you 5% crit rate, 30% skill damage, 2500 damage cap. When you have one weapon, it's 5000 instead. I think this sword looks, yeah, it's definitely going to be his best in the slot sword, but since we have so many swords in this game, do you need it? I would say no, because you can just use Muramasa, which is a Godforge free-to-play sword, which gives you 25% physical damage. Also, if you're using a higher strength sword, then you're going to get even more strength from his skills, because if you remember, he gets 200% more strength from his weapon, and his paid sword only has 307. I know there are other swords in the game that has like 400 or something, so some swords will do a bit better, but I still think this sword is definitely a solid one, because the crit rate is definitely going to help. Crit rate is basically meaning there's a little bit more SCT regen for every crit rate he gets. So I do think it is very solid, but I wouldn't worry about it just because the effect, you're not missing out on that much. And it's 25 credentials, so it's quite expensive if you're just pulling to get it. I wouldn't say that's worth it, but it's still a very strong one. Now this accessory, I do think this one looks very nice, honestly. Gives you strength, defense, mind, okay stats. The trait, magic, attack, and counter damage taken minus 20%. That's pretty nice. 20% less damage taken from those. Actually pretty strong. And you also get 10% SCT recovery speed, which isn't that much, but it is still something, and it will stack with everything he already has with all of his SCT regen. So I do think that trait pretty solid. Obviously it doesn't give any physical damage, but still, you could use this with Equilibrium Sphere to give 15% non-attribute damage, and it would be quite a good build, I think. Yeah. Also, resistances, Tend to Dark, and Curse resistance. I think you're much better off getting this accessory over the sword, for sure. If I were to choose one, I would get the accessory. But this accessory is more useful for PvP, and if he doesn't work at all in PvP, then maybe his sword. But even then, yeah, I haven't tried him enough in the unit test play quest yet. I'm going to be doing that soon in a bit. I only had a brief look at it, but didn't properly go in depth in testing because I like doing that here. So overall, nothing super strong like a Claude's accessory, for instance. But if you were to choose one, definitely get the accessory for PvP, because it will be very nice in arena and guild battles. But if you don't worry about PvP at all, then probably just get the sword. But if you're thinking of buying one of them, like if you don't have 25 credentials already, don't worry about it. But if you already have 25, then yeah, it's up to you depending on what content you're going to want to use him in. So I suppose we should do summons now. I think I've talked about everything related to the part 2 unit and the arc for the moment. I will definitely be doing some testing after the summons, because I think he's going to be an interesting unit to mess around with. He has some potential for sure. I just don't know, because all the time in this game and most gacha games, units need testing to really understand their full potential. So let's have a look first. I did the event today and yesterday to try and get as many tickets as I could, and I managed to get 20 part 2 tickets in here, so I would really like to get obviously both, but the arc is probably what I would prefer because of the accessory from the arc. I would very much like to have that, and maybe the learnable skills. The units, I would like to mess around with the unit for sure. I think both the unit and the arc would be solid in my opinion, but I would honestly prefer to have the arc over the unit, maybe, but it really depends on how strong the unit's going to be. So let's start this off with this temple ticket. I doubt we get anything from tickets. I mean, last week we managed to get the unit from a single ticket, so who knows. But Lilibet isn't very good. She's not going to give anything at all. Especially with the blue, this one's going to be terrible. But maybe the next temple can give something. Who knows. I'm just hoping we get some reds and stuff. Hoping we get at least one thing new today. You never know, maybe something will change red if that really happens. Ideally today, I at least want to get one new thing, being either the unit or the arc. I would prefer the arc, but hopefully I can either get one or both. This is the temple ticket. This is the final ticket I have at the moment, so I'm hoping something's in here, but I doubt it. The rear's better than the Nabet at least, but it's a blue, so I doubt there's anything in here either. Yeah, there's probably not anything in here. Even if it doesn't turn red, there is still chance that one of the orbs could turn red, but it's not going to happen. Well, there could still be a random red in here, but there's one. But that isn't anything new, so it's not like I care about that. I always follow my same strategy, doing the step gacha, try and do all of the cheap summons first, and then, I don't know, trying to do singles until we get something good. Let's do this. I always worry about this, because it could either go very well or very badly. I doubt there's anything in here, but I might as well watch anyways. 1, 2... There's not going to be any reds in there anyways, right? Oh, there is one. Can you be noob? I doubt it. Well, I got the arc, which is great. Already, somehow. I love that. Love that. Very nice. I'm not going to stop yet. I'm at least going to finish this step gacha. I will try and get the unit as well, because I think the unit's going to be nice. But I'm not going to pity it. No way. It's not worth pity in my opinion. And there's still a couple of tickets that I could get. So, yeah, I've been pretty lucky with arcs recently, and I'm happy with that, because arcs are good long term. So, I'm happy with the arcs. Nothing in here, unless there's a gold. There's a gold, right there. Can you turn red and give me the unit? No, it won't. Thought so. I mean, there was 3 animations, but... no reds there. I'll tell you what I'll be doing. My plan is I'll be doing this, finish off this lap, so I'll do this one, and then I'll be doing only single pulls from there, and I'll try to get a couple of reds, but after a couple of reds, if we don't get the unit, then I'll stop there, and then go with the testing, so that's my plan. Another blue. I don't like seeing blues, I really don't. Golds seem more promising. I'll tell you what, we haven't had a red show up, like, instantly in a while. Nothing here, of course. I don't want to spend the paid crystals, honestly, because I like saving those. Let's have a look at the trading space quickly, just to check what we have. I think I'll try a similar strategy to what I did in part 1. Using these medals on these tickets to try and get the units, because I'm not pitying the unit, so it's either I get them or I don't. Not that fussed. If you go to collab challenge, there's some crystals there. There is another ticket in here, but the 9th bunny, I don't think it's available yet. I want the 9th bunny just to get this ticket, because you never know, this could be the unit, but I doubt it. So right now, we have done the step gacha. I don't want to do lap 2 because it's too expensive. I think I will just do singles from here on out, which may be boring, but I want to try and save as many crystals as possible, and this is pretty much what everyone should be doing with their crystals, because there's like no reason to do temples in this game, because you don't get any benefit from a temple. So, since I'm only missing the units, I'm just going to be doing single pulls to try and get him, but we'll see how it goes. I don't think we're going to get him, but you never know. It's worth trying, I think, and I would like to try and get him. I'm not going to watch everything, only if it looks promising. So with Tharia showing up is usually worth watching it, but not this one. So we'll do this for a little while, see if we can get anything good from this. But I doubt we get the unit, but I would still like to try. Most of these are just going to be a skip. If a gold shows up, then I might watch it. Like a Zekus or a Tharia with a gold, potentially. So Tharia, but it's a blue, there's not going to be anything in that one at all. Try and snipe the unit if possible. Nope. Nope. Tharia by herself is just a troll. Because you see Tharia, you think it's good, but no, she's by herself, so it doesn't matter. No. I'd like to see another red. I will be trading the medals in a moment for another ticket. There's a gold, but only 2 of them. I don't know. I mean, probably not. It's only a single pool, so you can never expect anything from those, so that's what I thought. If no one shows up, it's not even worth watching. Nope. There's still a chance a blue could go to a red, but this one's gonna stay gold. I bet it will. 100%. Or not. There's 2 animations, is it? Oh, it doesn't matter what it is, because it's just an arc. Arc animations, you don't want arcs. When you're only looking for the unit, the arcs don't matter. Like, there's probably still some SSR arcs that I'm missing, but we don't want those. I don't care about those right now. The Rhea with the gold, it looks better, but we've seen this before and it was gold anyway, so just hover over the skip button, wait to see what it is, and obviously it's, oh, there's a red, okay. No arcs, so there's an arc. Why? I don't care about the arcs. I don't care about many. I bet if we get something, it's probably going to be a dupe of the limited arc, isn't it? Well, that was weird. I should have enough medals to get maybe 2 tickets or something. I'm gonna do that. I like taking my times on these pulls now. Definitely gonna be saving most of these crystals. Well, if you really want to see my review on this unit, you can check back later once this is uploaded. But just briefly, I think it's going to be a very strong unit for newer players, 100%. But if you're an endgame player, he's not going to be as useful. But if you have a lot of story content that you haven't done, I think it's going to be useful. Definitely a very easy to use unit, 100%. That wasn't even worth my time to do that ticket, was it? No. Well, I feel like what I should do right now is probably just save, because we have a couple more tickets available. But I don't want to. If I do 3 more singles, we can get 1 more ticket. Might do a couple more than that. Yeah, not a must pull. Renner is the best unit to get from this collab, 100%. Other bet, not even worth my time. Maybe, probably not, but who knows. I doubt. No. 1, 2, 3. Well, you'd think there would be something in there if there's 3, and there is. Okay. No ups, no ups. Perfect. Perfect. Great. Perfect timing. Amazing. I'm glad it wasn't an arc. I was really expecting it to be a dupe of something, but we are done with this banner. Yeah. I feel like I get more lucky if I take it slow and do it like this, because it just feels way better this way, you know, instead of chucking all of your crystals away in these 10 pulls. There's no reason to do that. Just do single pulls and the bare minimum to try to get something is what I've been doing lately, and it's been working very well for me, so highly recommend to try and do that if you can. Save everything, only spend little bits here and there. Works very well, but not always. You can't get everything, but get lucky enough maybe. Perfect. Now we can do some testing with him. I think that'll be fun, 100%. Let's do that in a moment. I do definitely want to change over to Steam version. Right, we'll build him in a moment. I'm gonna go switch to Steam, because it's faster. And we'll start building him and look at the arc and everything. And then we'll definitely do some showcase, having a look at how he performs and more in-depth into his kit, I think. So that'll be fun. Definitely looking forward to doing that. Why isn't this the right screen size? You're bothering me. Fit screen. So let's first of all let's have a look at the arc first, because that makes sense. I don't think I have any of these. No, I don't. So I'm just gonna have to use my blue souls, which is fine. I think first of all, definitely gonna get this Arcade reward because it's 100% worth it. I have enough Ethereum. I'm just gonna get it now. I love this accessory. Definitely see myself using this quite often, especially on dual wield units. In PvP, it will definitely be useful, but trying to think of a unit that has extra hits in PvP, at the top of my head I can't think of any, apart from 2P, but there's probably a couple of dual wield units. Well, Lilahar, yeah, but she doesn't use skills, so it's not really worth doing that. It's not worth it. Let's level this up as much as we can. Definitely going to take me a long time to get to level 61. Count levels with this stage in the game take ages, takes months. So at level 5 it gets the battle start effect, Grand Brave and High Protection, nice. Yeah, Ethereum daily quests, I mean, I usually forget about it. If it drops Ethereum, then I should do it. Okay, now it's red souls. Yeah, I'll definitely have to do that. So at level 8 it gets take less damage, cool. I can't level it up anymore, don't have many souls. I've been using some of them on equipments, getting those Godforge paid equipments for the rerun units, for Claude and Renner. I'm probably going to get the rest of the units too, because it's just worth doing. Because now is your only chance to get the Godforge equipments, I believe, in this collab. So make sure to do it now. I'm going to leave this here at level 8 for the moment. I'll probably try it. Well, I don't really need to, do I? Let's have a look at the unit now. Let's go to this team, put him in, and we'll start showcasing him in a moment. Let's use Rainbow Potion, because I got so many somehow, from events. Okay. I mean, I don't know what I expected, but sure. Let's go and unlock everything in here. Should be able to. What is his ward? 1% no attribute damage. I mean, it's something alright, but it isn't that much. There we go. That's that for the moment. You can see his strength, already 2,400. He doesn't even have any equipments on right now. Already 2,400. That's pretty good. I haven't even awoken and he's only level 100. It's already that much strength. It is pretty solid. Also has defense and mind. 1 difference. That's just funny. So I guess I will go over to recommended equipments. I think he's definitely going to be an easy unit to build because he's heavily, you know, focused on using a sword. Now, if you're using him in PvE content, story stages, that stuff, then I highly recommend to use 1 sword, and the second weapon can be anything you want, but it could be a sword, it could be like a machine, because that will allow you to put on like machine mega boost if you have it, and second weapon is usually worth putting on because then you can put on more, you know, weapon boost skills. But if you just want an easy build, you can just go for 2 swords if you want. But let's have a look at some sword options first of all. So obviously you've got Muramasa. This is like the main one I was thinking of. I always think of this because it's a free Godforged sword that most people are going to have. 25% physical damage is just great in general. I will try and look for some other useful things though. Sword of Lost Souls isn't going to be as useful because Ignore Resistance doesn't matter on him because he's non-attribute. I'll probably just go with Muramasa honestly, and the second weapon, I'll look at some more swords. Let's have a look. Scarlet Blade, you could if you want. This one gives crit rate, so that could be useful. Ideally looking for anything that gives physical damage, skill damage, non-attribute. This one will definitely be an amazing one if you're using him single wield. I would highly recommend to use this on a single wield build for PvP, like Arena. This will be great on him, 100%. Even though it's dark, it doesn't really matter too much. You've got even more strength, which is great, and it gives you 25% physical damage, so I love that one. But that won't work for dual wield at all. Honestly, aren't as many good second sword options, but I do want to have a look. Yeah, I think there's a couple of swords I don't have Godforged yet because I just can't be bothered. But yeah, there's definitely some other swords you can definitely use if you have them. This one's okay. I mean, I just highly recommend to use one good sword, or just one sword at least. And if you don't have any other good swords, yeah, I mean, I usually look for a weapon that would give damage in the trait. That's kind of what I'm looking for. I know this gives crit rate, sure, but I wouldn't use it just because if you have it, you're probably not a new player, so you've probably just got better options instead, honestly. And the 5% crit rate, probably not. Yeah, you could definitely go with a lot of sword options, so I'm sure you're fine with selecting a sword. Yeah, you've got many sword options. I also want to have a look at some other weapons. So I know there are some other good ones. He can equip axe and spear as well, so let's have a look at spears and axes just to see if there's anything else good. Yeah, World Cleave Blade. I don't remember names. This one's very good. You know why? 454 strength, 20% physical damage. This one's amazing. I would probably use that, honestly. Have these two weapons. Yeah, but you don't need a sword. You can have a sword and then the second weapon can be whatever you want. It doesn't have to be a sword. 200% strength only sword, I mean, it probably was. I mean, I can check that for science. The temple ticket was from the event stages. Look at the strength. Look at that number. 5,000. 5,000. How? Let me just test it then. If I were to equip another sword, how much strength would I have? If I equip something that has an okay amount of strength. Don't know what I'm really looking for. That'll be fine. Yes, that's even more strength. Jeez, man. Like, that amount of strength is just crazy to me. Yeah, 400. You could go for a full strength build and see how much strength you can build. Yeah. 6,629. Ah! The hell? Okay, well, that's fun. Oh, that's ridiculous. Oh, that's crazy. We haven't even put on accessories. uh, okay, well, back to equipment options. Let's just leave that for the moment. Let's go over to accessories, because I'm sure you're fine with some weapons. So accessories, I believe we have a lot of good accessories too. So obviously the first one that comes to my head is Equilibrium Sphere. His page sword doesn't have that much strength. At max level, I believe it's 300, so it's not that much. I wish it had 400, that would have been great. Or if it had like strength in the trait, would have been great. Mithril Relief, amazing for him. Gives strength, gives movement speed and skill damage, honestly considering it. So I'm going to put that on. And then the second one, definitely Equilibrium Sphere. If you have it, it's going to be perfect for him. Even gives 100 strength. And Curse resistance, light and dark resistance is very good. Definitely his best accessory to use, so I definitely recommend something like that. But let's have a look at some other accessory options, just in case you don't have any of those. Yeah, the new Archive reward, if you get that, it will be very nice for a lot of units, so obviously it's going to be good on him too. We've had a lot of good accessory options from collab arcs. This one's okay. Movement speed against physical damage against bosses. This one, Desert Rose. I love Desert Rose. It gives you ailment resistances. Curse, stun, illness, 10% non-attribute damage. This one's amazing. It doesn't give any strength though, but it is definitely still a very solid option that I would consider using. I think it's great. But for the moment, I'm trying to look for strength because big strength numbers, even more strength. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm definitely going to try for a complete strength build, just all strength. I'm going to try that later for sure, but that's not why we're here yet. I'm trying to look for some solid build options. That's what I'm trying to look at for now. I know there is definitely some more down here. So attribute weakness, he can't hit weakness, so don't bother with that. There's no reason to use this, I think. Unless you're going up against an enemy that you have Slayer on. This one gives skill damage, sure, why not? This could be nice. There's definitely some more down here, like this one's great. Same thing with this, if you're up against divinity enemies, could be useful. You definitely have a lot of accessory options for sure. This one is okay if you're up against machines. The spring, I love this spring. I love it. Skill damage, damage to airborne enemies, I love it. Two weapons of the same type. You could maybe take advantage of this. Maybe. You get skill damage and damage cap if you have two weapons of the same type. I believe it means you have to have two swords, right? Probably. Which is easy enough. And you probably should. And obviously the bracelet. And this one, very good too. You have so many good, accessory options, so it's pretty easy if you have a lot of these options. Like, so many of these are so strong. I'm going to go for this. Try and have as much strength as possible. Now, any guesses on the strength numbers? 8,000? 7,000-ish? 7,000, exactly. Okay, that's nice. That's nice. Love that. Haven't even awoken yet. 7,000, great. But also, you can go even further beyond. By, if you want... I believe if I put on the accessory, I can get even higher strength stats, right? And by a little bit. I mean, yeah, maybe use Black Diamond in PvP, but anywhere else, probably just better off using something else. Yeah, this is hilarious to me. Really is, really funny. I don't know how it's this strong. Well, stats. Stats doesn't always matter, but it's still great. I'm going to put on Equilibrium Sphere again if I find it, because I'm stupid, I miss it. There you go. I think this will be fine for the moment. I will definitely switch up this sword. Yeah, Holy Aura, if you want, but I don't know, just for strength, I might do that later, but I don't have any skills learnt on him yet, so what I will do for the moment is I will go for a typical build that a normal player would use for just typical PvE stages. So in that sense, you wouldn't use Kagotsuchi. So I'm not going to use that. I'm going to use something that actually gives some skill damage, physical damage, that stuff. I'm still considering, is it a better idea to use an axe, or should I use a second sword? Because right now my strength is 5,868. If I were to change to an axe, it would go down to 5,500. Honestly, not that much different. I think this may even be better because this gives more physical damage, but the other one did give crit rate. I can't take advantage of that accessory right now too, so I suppose I should go for a different sword. So I'll just go back to the one I was using because this gives crit rate too. So I'm going to go with this build. I think this seems pretty strong. We got 5,868 strength, which is ridiculous. Now let's awaken and see how much more strength stats we can get. So let's see how much strength this goes up to just by awakening once. So 5,868, awaken once. 5,937. Okay, not that much difference honestly. But I still got a level of map and stuff as well. This will be even more. Now it's at 6,000. Oh, this is so much strength. It's funny. And now this will be 6,197. And then this one is the final one for the moment. 6,400. Love it. That's just great. It's great. Right, so what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to test him just with this build. So base skills, this equipment seems like some pretty good equipment to me. And just base skills, 5th enhance. I want to see how hard he's hitting with this build. So let's try this out. Quite interested to see how well I can do with this. Obviously, I'll use Council of 10 as well, and then we'll go into the stage we always do and try this out. So he's going to have even more strength once we go into battle, which will be hilarious. I wonder if he's going to reach 10,000. I don't think yet, right? It's not going to be yet. It's probably, I don't know, less than that, right? I mean, the arc is pretty solid, so if you get the arc, that'd be great. The units are not a must pull at the moment. Let's try this out. So, what's the strength? 9,367. Jeez. That's ridiculous. And he's not even fully built. I don't even have the highest strength, equivalents on either. It's pretty crazy. So, let's try using his skills now. I just want to see how hard he's hitting, and then I'll go into the unit test play quest very soon. His base skill stocks, by the way, are 4, 4, and 2. So that seems okay. His skill 1 skill stocks being 4 is a bit lower than usual, because usually you would have 5. And having 4 skill stocks on his skill 2 is pretty high for a skill 2. Having 2 on his skill 3 is just average, so nothing that impressive really. Let's try out his skill 1 first. I mean, how hard is it really hitting? The crits are hitting pretty well, but the normal attacks not as much. Let's try this a couple times, and then I'll go into the unit test play quest to try there, because he'll definitely do better there, but I just wanted to test it out a bit first. So skill 1 seemed okay. Not any insane damage so far, but you can obviously definitely increase that by a lot with skills and even the 6th enhance, stuff like that. Even more damage. And he's currently dual wield as well. Now let's try the skill 2 and see how that does. And then we'll try skill 3 afterwards. His normal attack. 3-hit normal attack. It's alright. That does feel stronger for sure compared to his skill 1. His skill 2 hits harder. Yeah. Well, that was a lot better already. You can see his damage caps aren't very high. This unit has lower damage caps, which may put off some people, but it isn't always about the damage caps. As you know, we've got Sonic, who is incredibly fast physical DPS, but doesn't have the highest damage caps in the game, like Arngrim, insane damage caps. He actually has some very good DPS, honestly. Let's try skill 3 here, and I do want to go into the unit test play quest in a moment and do some more testing. Should be fun. So his skill 3, let's try and target this guy and use a skill 3. Okay, they're all grouped. I love that. That's pretty good. The grouping is actually pretty strong. I like the grouping a lot. I want to go in there and test that one more time, because if I select the enemy at the bottom, I doubt it's gonna, you know, group the one from the top. But it still seems very strong. But obviously, if they've got flinch resistance, then it's probably not gonna group them together. But maybe in guild battles or arena, it might come in handy. But I'm just thinking about it, hoping. Very good, big suck. Love the suck. Great. Let's try it. Okay, I just pulled him in and no one else. That was weird. Yeah. I mean... I do think his skill 2 hits the hardest out of all of his skills. That's what it seems like so far. If you see skill 2... Yeah, his skill 2 hits the hardest. For some reason. Let's go into the unit test play quest next. And I do definitely want to do some more testing with him. Trying some insane high strength builds just for the sake of it. Even though I don't have any skills learned on him yet. PvP unit, well, I can't say yet. Because he definitely needs testing in there. But he does seem like a good PvE unit as well, like Claude. Claude is good in PvP and PvE, so maybe this guy will also do the same. That's what I'm hoping. Let's go unit test play quest, try him out here. This will be better. So now he's got 7,547 strength. How fun is that? Obviously base skills and everything. Let's see this. What's this strength like? 10,700. That's awesome. I love that. Okay, so what I want to do here is just go more in depth into his skills and see exactly how they are doing. So first of all, normal attack, kind of basic, don't need to talk much about it. Yeah, how good is he in PvP? Nobody knows at the moment. So long range, his air slash can be used anywhere. He's pretty nice. The enemy has every single, you know, type. So obviously Dias is going to have a slayer damage against him. He can hit damage caps too. He's hitting damage cap on his normal hits as well as his critical hits, so I do like seeing that. But obviously he's hitting Slayer, and this is a weak enemy. Yeah, he has some decent damage mitigation. The question is it enough? Because he doesn't nullify Slayer like Claude does. Now, if we go close enough, how close do you have to be? You gotta be like right on top of them, and it changes it to that. You can see some of the SET regen from the critical hits too. It's not proccing that often. Yeah, not working that well. I mean, I kind of expected that to be the case. It probably has a low proc chance. But I'm testing it right now. Let's have a proper look. So that didn't proc. That procced once at least. That didn't. That procced once. It's not that often. Once. No. Once. Twice, I think. That's 12 hits. That was twice. That was once. I think. That was none. That's 3 times. Interesting. And if I go to skill 2 next, I want to try the skill 2 now. So the skill 2 puts him behind the enemy. So maybe you'll be able to take advantage of backstab skills, potentially. But I don't know, because obviously they turn around, so maybe not. That procced once. That was twice or something. You can see it doesn't regen that much of the skill. So obviously the skill requires a lot of seconds to get a skill back. So 1 second is like not much. Especially for skill 2 and 3, you're rarely going to be able. That's rarely going to make a difference. Yeah, they only proc once. Skill 3, the big suck. That proc like twice. Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't show his full capabilities for sure. I think he's definitely going to need to be tested in arena, stuff like that. I think he may work pretty well there. Let's use his special just to see it, but like I said earlier, it's not going to be very good. Probably going to look cool, but that's about it. 75,000 times 35 isn't going to be that much compared to other special damage dealer units we've got in the game, so it's not really going to be that much. You can definitely notice the SET regen more on his skill 1 because it requires less SET, so it's quite useful for that. 1, 2... Okay, he's dead now. Let's do a bit more testing. Now I want to see how fast you can spam these skills, because that is quite important. If you care about DPS, then spamming skills, definitely the most important thing for sure. But I don't have any expectations, because I think it's going to be quite slow. Haven't tried him single wield yet, but single wield is definitely going to be better in PvP. I might try it though in a moment, just to see what the damage kind of looks like. And a full team and stuff as well. Might be fun. Watching behind. Well, you could do that if you want, but you're going to hear me saying this much later. So, it's going to be fun, isn't it? So, I want to see how fast you can spam these skills. I've kind of tested a skill 1 already, but let's just do it again just for the sake of it. So, spam this. Yeah, pretty average. Like, it's kind of similar to Claude's skill 1. And if you go right up in his face, probably going to be the same speed, right? Yeah, pretty much. Now, skill 2 spam, I don't know how fast this will be. I'm hoping it's good. That seems fast. I mean, as decently fast. I do like his skill 2, honestly. It's pretty nice. But there is quite a bit of a delay between the next time you use another skill. So, using a skill 2 and then another skill 2, you can see that hell of a long delay. So you can't spam it super fast. but maybe you can combo them not that well. Combo skill 1 and 2 doesn't really combo together that well, so I'm just trying that. Now, skill 3. Skill 2 proc backstab. I believe it should. I believe it should. I do want to test it, but here's the thing you've got to think about backstab. How backstab works is it's when you hit an enemy from behind, and usually if you're paying attention to this enemy right here, you can see he turns around as soon as he gets hit. So I use a skill 2, this unit is going to go behind him, and then he's going to turn around. So he turns around, so it means the first hit is going to get the backstab damage, and then the rest of the hits are going to be normal damage because he's going to be turned around by then. So I believe that should be how it works with him in like PvP and stuff. That's probably going to be how it works. So I think he might work decently well with backstab and stuff, but yeah, that's usually how it works in this game, I think. So he goes behind and then he hits them, so I believe the first hit there should be a guaranteed backstab hit, so I think that will be pretty nice. But if he turns them around first, that would be like just weird, but it definitely seems like he does do at least one hit of backstab, and I do definitely want to try that, but since I don't have him built yet, it's not something I can test at the moment. Let's try his skill 3 next, have a proper look at that, see how fast that is, and the range of that and stuff. Haven't properly tried that yet. Yeah, I'm thinking a good combo might be skill 3 into a skill 2, because you can group them together with the skill 3, and then you can do a skill 2, go behind them, and do a backstab hit. I think that sounds pretty strong, but in practice it may not be as good as it sounds. That's what I think. So let's try the skill 3. The range is decent. I think the big suck is probably stronger against the enemy you're targeting, right? So all of the other enemies around them, I don't know if they'll get sucked as strong as the one that you're actually targeting, because right here it's going to suck him in pretty well. Now let's try spamming this. Yeah, that's pretty spammable, but obviously you've only got 2 stocks of his skill 3, so it's not like you can spam it that fast. But a skill 3 into a skill 2, I think will be very nice. Yeah, that's probably going to be very good. I do like that. The skill 2 and a 3 kinda cuts the delay down a little bit, honestly, for maximum DPS. Yeah, I mean, spamming skill 1 isn't going to be that much DPS just because the hit counts of the skill 1 isn't that much. So, and you can also see a delay between every time that you use a skill 1, but there is a less of a delay in this skill 3. So I do think his skill 3 is definitely his better skill. Yeah, it looks very cool. I kind of like his skill 3 into the skill 2 the most. That's what it seems like to me. It looks like it's going to be pretty good. And skill 2 into 3. Either one of those. So I think definitely his best skills are his skill 3 and his skill 2. His skill 1 can be used if you need some long range attacks, but if you're close enough, you're probably just better off using his skill 2 and 3. That's just what it seems like to me, unless there's something I'm missing. I know his skill 1 can probably pierce enemies and go through multiple enemies, because that long range attack will do that. Let's try this one more time, and then we'll go into, I don't know, some proper testing with a full team and stuff. I do want to mess around with his strength, just to see how high I can get that. He seems pretty fun so far, but I haven't tried him in PvP, so I can't, you know, I can't mention anything about PvP at the moment. Skill 2 into a skill 3. Skill 3 into a skill 2 is probably my favourite one there. Yeah, dual wield damage. I say don't look at the unit and base your summoning off of this, because obviously this enemy has every single type, so Dias is going to have Slayer damage against this enemy, and he's probably a weak enemy too. They do this on purpose, for sure. I say before you summon with crystals, you should probably wait and see, you know, depending on how he performs in PvP, if you care about it. But if you don't care about PvP, it's up to you. If you're a newer player, he's going to do great. Let's just see how fast we can kill this guy. Yeah, I definitely like those two skills the most. They're very good. His skill 1, it kind of more difficult to fit into a combo, you know? It's more of just the skill you'll use if you're long range and you really need to. Being a non-attribute is very useful. If you don't know, which you should, we rarely get non-attribute units in this game. We only have a couple of them, and now I think about it, most of them, or at least a few of them, are collab limited. Like we had Virgil, had Rem, now we've got Dias. They're all collab limited non-attribute units, which is funny. We may have had some more as well. I know there was a non-attribute mage. She was fun. Non-attribute usually lasts a while, but someone like Virgil didn't last very long because he was mostly just for PvE. The fact is, Virgil couldn't be used in Arena, so because of that he fell off very quickly. I still need to do the rest of these tests. I'll do that at some point. So what I want to do now is I want to do a bit more testing with, like, how much strength could you get on this unit? Well, you could get a hell of a lot. I do want to, before I do that, even though I don't have any learnable skills, learnt skills yet, I want to try a single wield build just to see, you know, the damage numbers, what they look like. So I will go with some cloves just to see what it looks like. Yeah, kind of similar to Virgil. I mean, if you want to say that, sure, but I don't know. 5,500 strength still. Very good strength, even with cloves. Let's try this. Let's try that out. I just want to see what the damage numbers look like, because this gives me a better idea of PvP damage, kinda. This should be somewhat decent, but the damage caps aren't going to be very high. My expectation is like 4,000 or something. Well, 40,000, maybe, per hit. Or normal hits, something like that. So let's just see the damage numbers on this. Yeah, he does have the more damage against bosses, but that's only on 6th enhanced, so I don't have that currently. 47,000 actually not bad. It's not bad. I saw a 51 in there. Now if I use a skill 2, yeah, 67, 57, 67. There's pretty good damage numbers, honestly. If I use a skill 3 next, 74,000. It's honestly seems like some very solid damage numbers so far, just because he's base skills only right now. It seems nice. Yeah, Bayland isn't used that much anymore, but I remember when Shift Bayland came out, everyone, literally every single person was using Shift Bayland in multiplayer. It was funny. Shift Bayland was out for an incredibly long time. A lot of people used him, and some people still use him just because he's so easy to use. and I think that Dias is gonna be maybe quite similar, because he's just so easy to use, and you can just get him on a new account and you're set. You just use him, clear everything. He's kind of like that Shift Balin type unit that you don't have to worry about building too much, because you just shove whatever you want, as long as it's a sword, you're good to go really. Yeah, currently I'm not taking advantage of that accessory, so I'm going to change that and then try that one more time. Yeah, perfect time to re-roll and start a new count, 100%. If you get Renner and Dias, you're set. Especially if you get some of the arcs as well. There are some very solid arcs in this collab. You've got the 2 rerun arcs, the 2 new arcs. 2 new arcs are very solid in part 1 and part 2, they're very nice. And also some rerun arcs, like Claude's arc, very strong. And someone else's arc. I think Freya's arc's pretty solid too. So let's see, this should be hitting harder now. Yep. 54. 77, that's pretty solid actually. Hitting pretty hard now. Already. 69, 78. It's pretty nice. This is single wield damage only. I'm just looking at the damage numbers right now. The damage caps, obviously they're not very good, but you know, you could also compare to this guy, Angrim. I still haven't tested him yet. Well, I haven't fully built him yet. I'm working on it. I'll just do this once. I think I've done most of the testing that I wanted to. There is some more testing I want to do with like a full build and stuff. But I just want to show you something with Angrim. His skill 2 is incredibly good. Obviously they've got dark resistance, so it's kind of a bad example, but still. I mean, yeah. I'm just looking at the damage numbers right now. Let's put it back on. Let's go to the different builds. I want to go more focused on strength now. So let's go back to swords only and go for as much strength as possible. Just with base skills for now to see how much I can get. That one's got 392. This won't hit as hard, I just want to see high numbers. That's got 405. Sure, that's good enough. And then I can put on the accessory that gives strength, black diamond, and there's probably something else that gives strength too. This will be funny. 122, sure, why not? So, what's this gonna look like now? Oh, that's great. 8,356. I love that. I could do this if I want. I mean, it's not that important, I can wait. I can do that later. That's just pretty crazy though. Also, you can get even more strength from arcs as well. So stuff like this gives more strength. Huh? 10,000. We done it. 10,471 without this. This is just the arc. That's great. This is without Grand Brave too. Love that. That's funny. Cool stuff. I guess I can try this, just for the sake of it. This will be fun. It's gonna be like 13 or 14,000 or something now, isn't it? Yeah, 14,135. That's just too much strength. Like, you don't even need that much. It's just a bit much. Like, higher strength numbers, when you get higher numbers of strength, it starts being less effective. So, the difference between 2,000 and 3,000, for instance, is probably more than the difference between 9,000 and 10,000, you know? So, having this high strength, yes, it's nice. Yeah, diminishing returns isn't gonna increase your damage by that much, and you're gonna see here that I'm gonna be doing a bunch less damage now with skills. Yeah, you see I'm doing a lot less damage now because I'm just focusing on strength and I don't have any skill or physical damage. So you can see damage modifiers are still the #1 thing you should focus on, because strength by itself isn't going to carry you with your damage. It just helps. I mean, it's still not terrible, because he can still clear this, but these are easy enemies. It's still funny to see that much strength though, and you could go even higher if you want to, with some other arcs and skills, and you know, leveling him up, stuff like that. But I'm gonna mess around with that later, I think, and try and go for some insane strength. But I don't want to waste time doing it now, because that would take time learning skills, and I'm sure you don't want to see that, so I'll do that on my own time at some point. See how fun that is. I think I'll leave that for the moment. I think I've tested everything that I wanted to for now. I'm going to go back to a normal build, because I definitely want to do that, I think. Or I could just stay with this and start building him with even more strength. Funny thing is, he doesn't have any attack up skills, so you can put on every attack up skill. You can put on attack up 1, 2, 3, 4, and max, which is funny. And you can even put on like fighting spirit skills that he doesn't already have, like fighting spirit 2 or whatever that we have learnable. So that'll be even more strength. And you can even put on some other skills that increase strength too. So yeah, I think his strength is going to be very funny. You can get big numbers, but like I said, it's going to be funny, but it's not that effective, because you're much better off just focusing on skill damage and physical damage, because all this, it does less damage than what I was doing before, because I'm not getting any damage modifiers from any of these equipments. So strength is still nice, but damage modifiers are always way more important in most cases. I think the fact that he has high strength already means you don't need to worry about his strength at all, because he's already got enough, so you don't really need to worry about increasing it. Just make sure you have 2 solid swords, because when you do, it's going to increase his strength by quite a lot. So having 2 good sword weapons, definitely something I recommend doing. Like Muramasa, you can definitely have this, and something else that gives a good amount of strength as well. So I'll leave that there for the moment, I think, and I'll definitely come back to this and build him at some point in the next 2 weeks. And I definitely still need to build Arngrim as well, because I haven't tested that yet. Well, I've tested him, but I haven't fully built him. I haven't tested him in arena or anything yet, so definitely need to do that. Might as well do this while I'm here. No reason not to. Let's just do that quickly, and I guess we'll finish up in a moment. I do want to talk about which banners you should be putting on and stuff. I'll do that in the conclusion, because it's a better place to talk about it there. He's hitting damage cap here on most hits because he has Slayer. And you saw that massive movement speed, right? That was from his skill that has a chance to increase his movement speed. Honestly, I kind of forgot about that, because I haven't seen it proc that often. So yeah, it's kind of a not that important skill, but Can be useful sometimes, as you saw. So, I think I'll leave it there for the moment. I think. I'll do one more test, just to see the movement speed. I want to see how often the skill is to boost your movement speed, just for the sake of trying it. So you can see there's a normal movement speed. If I use skill 2, that's the faster speed. So it happened that time, that's faster speed. That seemed to happen pretty often, unless I got lucky there. That's faster speed. That's pretty fast. Fast speed. I don't know, it seems like it always happens. And I'm pretty sure it can't always happen. Yeah, Godspeed, you can see it. When you try and use it, it pops up here. It's happened every time so far, has it? It didn't that time. Yeah, you can see how slow that is. It seems like a very high percentage chance then. Happened that time. Yeah, it only hasn't happened like once. So I think there's a pretty good chance of it, not that time. Maybe 50%. You know, if it was 50%, that would make sense. Either 50% or a bit higher. Probably 50%. But it seems to proc pretty often, so I do like it. Yeah, it's very reliable, honestly. Not that time. Yeah, it seems like 50%. I'm gonna say it's around there, so I think it's a solid skill because it just happens so often. Yeah, you can see it happening very much. Yeah, like 50%-ish. Let's just kill him off now. There we go. So, yeah, the Godspeed skill, I think it's definitely a very good one because the proc chance of it seems pretty high, because it happens a hell of a lot when you saw it there. It happened more than it didn't, so in that test it was higher than 50%, but it's probably 50%. Like, that would make sense. If they were to make a skill like this, I would assume it would be 50%. Maybe I just got lucky in there, but I'm going to say at least 50%. Seems like what it would be. So, I think I'll leave that there for the moment. Let's just have a brief look at the event, just because why not? They did add a few things, but you also have to remember, this is a rerun, so everything in this event has already happened a year ago. It's the exact same event, so it's nothing new. It's the same event. But if you haven't done this event before, this is definitely a very fun one. But since I've already done it, it's not that exciting, because it's just the same thing. Currently, if you go in the dimension entrance, there are some more stages here, which you should be focusing on doing these to clear all of these, because you need to clear all those dungeons to get these rewards, so make sure to focus on these. Definitely some good stuff in here. You can get 10 God Relic Prisms, very nice stuff. So, focus on clearing these, we'll definitely get these done very soon. Or they're probably done by the time you've seen this, probably. We've got 2 weeks, it's definitely more than enough time to get those done. It's only been a couple of hours and we've got the first one done, and a lot of those are almost finished, so it's pretty easy. Great. Yeah, new stickers. I think I'll leave that there for the moment. Don't think there's anything else in the trading space. There is this weapon. I will talk about that in a moment in the conclusion, because it will be a lot easier if I do it there. Make sure to get these prisms and stuff. There are a couple of tickets in this event. In the trading space, there is a 10 pull ticket in the event. In the stage, if you beat the center in the newer stages, then you get a free 10 pull part 2 ticket, so make sure to do that. I think I'm not going to get any of these. I don't think it's necessary, unless he's super strong in PvP, which I doubt it. If he ends up being very strong in PvP, I might get the accessory, but for the moment, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to skip the paid equipments because they're not super important. So I'll leave it here for the moment. I do have some things I want to talk about though. So my conclusion for this collab as a whole, I think this is a very nice collab and a perfect time to start the game, because Rena is still the best support unit in the game and the best unit because she's a support. Supports are quite rare, and this is a limited collab, so I highly recommend to get Rena if you can. We get a free select ticket and you should definitely use it on Rena, so make sure to do that. If you're completely new, re-rolling in this collab is actually a good idea because you could get some very good stuff in here. Now, let's go over the gachas real quick. So, which banner is the better banner to pull on? Well, I say if you're a completely new player and you're just starting off, it's probably better to try and get Dias on part 2 because he is going to carry you through the entire story pretty much and a lot of the content in the game because he's non-attribute and he's such an easy unit to build and you can use him like in most stages. So I'd highly recommend for newer players to try to pull on part 2 to get Dias, but if you don't get him and you get the Arc instead, I still think that's a win, because getting something limited on one of these banners is a very good thing. So I say if you get one thing on part 2 and you don't have anything on part 1, then go back to part 1. Try and get at least one thing from each banner, but if you can, try and get Dias if you're a completely new unit. Completely new player, I mean, because this unit is very useful for newer players. Now, if you're an endgame player, I can't really say at the moment because Dias seems like he might work in PvP, but he definitely needs testing to see his full potential in PvP. So it's a bit of a different story for endgame players. I would recommend for you to just wait a little bit to see how he works in Arena, and once people have tried him out in Arena, then you can decide on if you think he's worth pulling for. Because if he's completely terrible in PvP, then I'll leave that up to you if you care about PvP enough, you know. Because if you only care about PvP, then that's probably your decision. You'll probably skip him, but also, if you're an endgame player that has beaten pretty much all the content in the game, you may not need any of these units, but just still make sure you get Rena and potentially Claude, because Claude is still a very meta unit in the game. Even though he's been out for a year, he's still very good DPS and very good PvP unit, so he's still great to get. Now, part 1 banner, I definitely think both of these banners are very strong because they have 2 very useful arcs in them, and they also have solid units. But I can't say how strong they are in terms of meta because I don't know if they're going to fit in the current meta for PvP, but I do know for sure they're definitely going to be strong. Arngrim has some insane DPS, honestly, because of his damage cap being incredibly high, so he is a very strong DPS unit. But the big but about this one is he won't last long term. He won't last as long as Sonic, because Sonic, you can increase his damage cap and he's dual wield. Having a unit that has higher hit counts lasts a hell of a lot longer than a unit like Arngrim that has single wield hits, low hit counts, but high damage cap. He's not going to last as long as someone like Sonic. So yes, Arngrim is a very strong unit on release, but I can't say if he's going to last a very long time compared to other units like Sonic, because Sonic is still probably a better DPS compared to Arngrim because Sonic has more hit counts and he's just faster in general. But I still gotta say Arngrim's skill 2 is pretty crazy and his skill 3 is pretty strong too. So definitely some very good banners here, but if you only care about the meta stuff, I wouldn't worry too much about any of these banners. But if you can, try and pull at least one thing on. That's what I would recommend, because trying to get one thing on a limited banner just seems like a good idea because these stuff may never come back. Also, we have the Redux banners. I did have a look at these in the part 1 stream, but these Redux banners aren't that great because the chances are very small. It's a 0.4% chance to get one of these units or arcs on rate up, and that rate up is the same as a UR arc. So if you're chasing for one specific thing, then it isn't a good idea to pull one of these. But let's say you're missing all 4 things from this banner, then that is when this banner starts becoming more valuable for you, I think. Is Arngrim better in general? Well, I would say no. I think Dias is definitely better in general because he can be used in more content because he's non-attribute. But the good thing, the difference with these two units, I'm going to say the main difference is Arngrim is a better DPS, but Dias is more for clearing content. So if you want to clear content and you don't care how fast you do it in, Dias is way better. But if you want to beat it faster, then Arngrim's going to be better in that scenario. So Arngrim better for DPS. Dias doesn't have very good DPS. His damage caps are quite low for a damage dealer in this state of the game, but he can clear most of the content, pretty much all of it. Well, almost. So I would say it depends on what you have on your account and what stage of the game you are in, but I would say Dias is better for clearing stages, but Arngrim is better for DPS potential. So I'll leave that up to you, because I can't say, oh, you must get this one because this one's better. That's not the case. They are both different units, and they can both be good in different situations. So I say just go based off what I'm saying and then make your decision, because I can't make the decision for you. That's up to you. But you must get Rena at least, because she's just the prize of the collab still, even though she's a rerun unit. It's free. You know, you get a free select ticket. I say the best thing out of the part 2 and part 1 gachas is definitely the part 1 arc, because this one has the XP receive 100% in the trait, and this is very useful because it allows you to easily farm for XP, and you can shove this on any unit you want, and your entire team is going to get 100% more XP, which is equivalent to Granados. So I think this arc is definitely the most valuable out of the part 1 and part 2 gachas only. So try to get this if you can. The learnable skills are pretty good too, but if you want to check my complete review of everything, you can check the part 1 stream, because I do everything here. I don't want to cover everything twice. So I think that's everything that I want to talk about for now. It's definitely a very good collab, because honestly, you've got a hell of a lot of stuff in here. You've got, obviously, part 1 and part 2 gachas, you've got these 2 new things, right? But if you're completely new, or if you missed the first collab, then you have everything else in the Redux banners too, which honestly, everything here is still viable. Like, Lenneth can still be used, Freya can still be used, everything can still be used in here. Rena is still the best unit, Claude still a meta unit. So you've got a lot here that is valuable in this collab. So I definitely recommend to try and get as much as possible. There are a couple of things that you don't really need, like some of these limited arcs you don't really need because they're not that great. Like Symbolism of Annihilation, that's kind of bad, you don't need it. But the Lorsa Armory contest is a very strong one. So there are some very good ones in here. But the units in general, if you get any of these units, you can't go wrong with any of them because they're all very strong. Just make sure to get Rena. Now, we've still got this summer banner available, but honestly, you can just skip it, depending on how many crystals you have, because this is a collab. Collabs may never come back. Summer banners will come back. You've got a week left. The arc is still very good, but you don't need it. It will come back, but the collab may not. So definitely focus on the collab more than anything. And remember to do your tickets. And I'm pretty sure that's everything I can say about this collab for now. So there's definitely a lot of good things in this collab, especially if you're someone that has missed the first time this collab was around. Collabs are very limited in this game. It's been a year since the first time we saw this collab, so highly recommend to try and get as much as possible, but don't waste all your crystals because nothing is meta apart from Rena and maybe a couple of the arcs and Claude. Like the rerun stuff are probably more meta than the newer stuff. So even though it's newer, it's not like you need it for meta stuff right now. Yeah, getting anything from tickets is a big win, especially this part 1 arc, which I don't want to say because I can't pronounce it. It is the best arc out of part 1 and part 2, so if you get that, amazing, because it's definitely amazing. It's very good. So, yeah, you try and get Claude and Renner, they're both very strong. Renner, 100% is the thing you must have before the end of this collab. We have 2 weeks left on this collab, so you still have some time. I recommend to try and get some of the Redux tickets, all of them. Try and get all the tickets as much as possible. If you haven't yet, make sure to get these tickets in here. You get 5 more of each banner, so make sure to do that. All you got to do is log in today, and you get these. So that's great. I believe you should be able to get these if you re-roll, so you do have a lot of tickets if you re-roll right now, which means it's a perfect time to re-roll if you're just thinking about starting this game, so I would recommend to do that. So I think that's everything that I want to talk about this collab. Definitely a very strong collab. It has a lot of valuable and meta things in this collab, especially from the rerun units and arcs. It has some very strong stuff in there, so I am happy with this collab. I think it's very good. Arngrim is a bit better. I would say it depends, like I've already said. Arngrim is better for DPS, but Dias is better for clearing content. So definitely a big difference there. I can't say one's better than the other at the moment. But they're both good at their own things. Dias' damage cap is definitely low, so that might put some people off. But the fact is, all of his skills and everything is not an attribute, so he can be used everywhere. He's such an easy unit to build. You don't have to worry about, you know, dual wield or single wield. You can do both. It's up to you, you know. So, pretty good banners. This unit is definitely going to help a hell of a lot of people for, you know, clearing content, and newer players. I recommend to try and get him if possible. Definitely a strong unit. Having a built-in Trishula does help a hell of a lot too. Yeah, I get that. But, yeah, I still think Dias in general is just easier to build. Arngrim is still great. I'm not saying that any of them are bad. They're both strong. They're probably going to rate quite similar in the tier list, but I can't say yet because they need to be tested in PvP as well. So yeah, I think they're both strong. You can go with either of them, honestly. It really depends on how lucky you get. Let's say you do a reroll and you get Arngrim, but you don't get Dias, but you get everything else. I say still keep it, because Arngrim is still amazing and can clear pretty much all the story for you. The same as Dias. You don't have to get Dias. It's just some people may prefer him, you know. So yeah, everything still being relevant definitely makes this collab a very strong one, and I highly recommend to try and get as much as possible if you can. So I'll leave it there for today. If you want to check out anything else that I've already said, then you can go back and watch the stream later. I'll be adding the timestamps very soon. Hopefully everyone gets what they want from this collab, because there is a hell of a lot of good stuff in this collab. And I guess I'll leave it there. It's going to be a 2-week break until the next banner. The next banner, we don't know what's going to be, but I have something to say. That is, you must think about the half anniversary coming soon, because in a month there's going to be a half anniversary. So anniversary coming up in about a month, you may want to have a couple of crystals saved for that, because usually they do some strong Descent of Heroes units and UR arcs, so you may want to try and save a bit for that, because I know that's coming up very soon in a month. So try and have some crystals for that too, but I still think using crystals in this collab is a good idea, because this is limited, and the Descent of Heroes stuff, they always come back, so it's not as big of a deal if you miss those. So I'll leave that there for today. Thanks everyone for coming. I will be adding timestamps very soon, so everyone can go back and watch this if you want. And yeah, I have some things I need to do. I need to build both of these units and test them out. I will be looking at how they perform in PvP. If he ends up being incredibly strong, I'll definitely inform people on it before this collab finishes, but I doubt he's going to be a game changer PvP unit, because I just don't see it happening. That's what I think at the moment. But we'll have to wait and see for testing. So yeah, thanks everyone for coming. I do enjoy these streams because I know people like these streams, and as long as they help people, I will keep continuing to do these for every unit in the game that releases. Every new unit I will continue to do these streams for as long as I can. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in 2 weeks for the next banner, whatever that's going to be. I'm hoping it's a permanent unit because we haven't had one in such a long time. But yeah, I'll see you then. Bye.